expensive, had to leave LA. So I got into my car and I went away to the big estate, playing poker every day, going all in with these fish like I'm at an all-you-can-eat buffet.
We're on a bit of a cold streak, trying to change our luck by changing the scenery. We make the 4-hour drive east into Dallas. We drive through a hailstorm to an old-fashioned restaurant called New York Hill, where the inside almost resembles a museum. We order our food to go. We get the chicken fried steak with bread rolls and chest pie, of course. We finally make it into Dallas and had to stop by SMU and see their campus. Check out how beautiful it is. Finally end up at TCH, and tonight's a special episode. We're on the live stream. What's up, guys? We made it out to Dallas. We're playing in the TCH livestream game right back here. It's a 5-5-10. We're gonna buy in for 3K. We have some bullets behind, but we hope we don't have to use them. If you guys like this type of stuff, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into the footage. Let's go. We pick up the live stream here with pocket jacks. We have just under 3K in our stack. It's $35 to us to call when Diva opens from under the gun with pocket aces, as you guys can see on the screen. Unfortunately, I do not have the liberty of seeing the opponent's cards at this moment, so I 3-bet him to $200, which I think is a good bet from the small blind. The action folds back around to Diva, who has aces, and he has a pretty clear 4-bet here. Occasionally he could be just calling my 3-bet with his aces, but I think a 4-bet is the best play, which is ultimately what he decides to do. He cuts out a 4-bet here to $540. M-Pass gets out of the way, action's back onto me. We're in the small blind here, and we have pocket jacks. I don't think we can be folding just yet. Obviously the opponent is going to have the 3 hands that are better than our jacks, and we're going to be going out of position, but for only $340 more, I decided to put in the call, and let's see a flop. Flop comes Queen 9-7 Rainbow, and obviously I'm not going to be leading into Diva when he 4-bets me pre-flop. I put in a check and the action's on him. I expect him to go for a C-bet a large portion of the time here, as he's going to have all the overpairs and the ace queen king queen type hands, but he decides to check it back in the spot, which I think is very interesting, and we see the 5 of hearts on the turn. The backdoor heart draw now becomes a thing. Both of us do not have a heart in our hand, but with just pocket jacks here, I think a check is the best play. That's what I do with my middle finger. Apparently I have a little bit of foresight as to what I'm going to be feeling after this hand, but the action's now onto Diva. When he checks back the flop, a bet here on the turn is mandatory. He also does not have the ace of hearts in his hand, so he wants to charge the draws and the queens in my range that would play like this. He fires out here for a nice size bet of $575. The action's back onto me, and there is an overcard to my jacks, and Diva is firing $575. I think a call is fine some portion of the time, but in this exact instance, I decided to lay the hand down. Obviously, I knew what he had. Just kidding, guys. But in this moment, it was the right fold, so I'm happy to save another $575 there, because he was obviously going to empty the clip on the river, and we were going to have to fold barring no jack on the river. Not the best start to the session. Jacks run into aces, but glad I made a nice fold and we're on to the next hand. Real quickly, shout out to Poker Bros for sponsoring this video. If you guys use the game, be sure to use my avatar and join my club if you guys want. Also, please do me the favor and subscribe to this channel. We're trying to make a push to 30K subs, and we're getting really close, but every subscribe counts. So if you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the video. Next hand, ace jack of clubs from the hijack. eBay Dave opens it up with ace 4 offsuit in the +2 position, and I re-raise him here to $50. Just Jeff is in the cutoff. He has position on me here, and he has pocket 10s. I think the best move for Just Jeff is to go for the 3-bet, and that's exactly how he feels as well. He pops it up to $150, a standard 3x. All the other players get out of the way, including eBay Dave, and we're going heads up out of position to a flop. Flop comes queen high, queen 7 deuce, and I checked my range over to Just Jeff. I think he needs to be c-betting this board somewhere around $110 to $150, but he decides to check behind, so we're going to see a free turn card, which gives us extra outs. It comes to 8 of clubs. When he checks back the flop, I don't think he's going to be doing this with ace queen, king queen, so I can confidently go for the semi-bluff here. On the turn, when we pick up equity and the nut flush draw, that's what I'm thinking in the moment. I'm just deciding on how much I want to bet. There's 330 out there, and with just ace high, I want to take down this pot. So I fire a good amount here. I fire $145. Obviously, seeing Jeff's hand in this moment, a call is the best move for him to do. That's what he does. He sticks in 145, which I would have done in his position, and going off to the river. Looking for a nice river, any non-board pairing club. That's not what comes. It comes a 6 of diamonds, but I didn't start firing on the turn to give up on the river. I don't believe that Just Jeff has a queen in his hand here. I just don't think he would check back the flop very often, if ever. So I need to go for a bet here and try to get him to fold any of his one pair type of hands. There's $620 in the pot, and I decide that $380 is a good enough size bet here to get the job done against any one pair type of hands, underneath the queen of course. I like my bet sizing even more when Just Jeff starts to squeam in his chair a little bit and look over at me and my stack. He starts to count out his chips, 380 in greens and red, and plays with them a little bit in front of me. I adjust my sweatshirt, which I guess could be a tell looking back in this moment. But Just Jeff ultimately decides that he thinks that he has the best hand here. Pocket tens is the best. He puts in the call, and I say, you're good. We just have ace high here, and he flips over the pocket tens, rubs him on the table a little bit more, and then throws him right in front of us. He's going to take down that almost $1,400 pot, 0 for 2 for the Wolfgang on the session. Looking to build some momentum, we look down at ace 9 of clubs from the +2 position. eBay Dave puts in the call, and I raise it up to $50 with ace 9 of clubs. Aaron thinks that Queen Jack suited is good enough for a call here. He sticks in $50, which brings in eBay Dave. So we're going 3 ways in between 2 other opponents to an ace high flop, ace 8-8 with 2 hearts. eBay Dave checks it over to me, which I would expect him to do all the time. And now I have a decision. Do I check or bet? In between 2 opponents, I usually like to start with a check, but I wouldn't blame any of you guys for betting an ace in this spot here with 2 hearts on board. I lean for what I like to do more often. I check in the actions on Aaron. Obviously, with just queen high on an ace high and heart board, he checks it behind, and we see the 7 of hearts on the turn. When the action gets checked through on the flop, eBay Dave thinks this is a great spot to go for the bet and get some value. He bets $175. Obviously, I didn't check the flop to fold the turn. I stick in the 175, and Aaron gets out of the way, so we're going heads up in position to the river. River comes the 4 of clubs, really shouldn't change too much. Either I'm behind any 8, better aces, or a heart flush. Actions on eBay Dave, and he decides to start with a check. He was doing some speculative things earlier in the session, so I didn't want to get check raised here, and I decided to take my showdown value with 2 pair with a 9 kicker and check behind. I think I might have missed a little bit of value. I probably could have gone small, like $175 to $250, but still nice to take down that $520 pot with our 2 pair. This might be the most fun hand of the night. Danny opens it up to $30 with ace-queen offsuit, and home 8 to his left 3 bets to $85. eBay Dave is not one to shy away from action or fold, and sometimes he can't just even call. He needs to 4-bet with queen jack offsuit from the button. The action's on me, and what do I look down here at this already 4-bet pot? I look down at king, kong, pocket kings. We have 3K in our stack. I'm looking to play a large one. Obviously, from the small blind, we're going to be out of position against anybody who calls, but I don't want to make it too big and scare anybody off. I think a sizing just over 2x will get the job done here. If everyone folds, we're going to take down that pot uncontested, but we want to lay them a decent enough price where if they decide they want to play a little bit more, they can put in the call, and we're going to get into a nice size pot. I decide that $800 is the price of admission here if they want to see a flop. Danny pretty quickly gets out of the way. So does Home, surprisingly, with pocket tens, and the action's on eBay Dave. The gig is up for him. He doesn't think about it for too much longer and tosses his queen high into the muck. Like I said, $415 of pure profit coming our way with that 5-bet pre-flop. Nice to finally build some momentum and go on to this next hand here. Diva opens it up in the +1 position with 6-4 offsuit, and Mike puts in the flat call with 9-8 offsuit, and Danny now 3-bets to $160. If you thought looking down at pocket kings in a 4-bet pot was pretty great, how about pocket aces in a 3-bet pot? Absolutely insane our luck here. I just wish some opponents would find a call in these spots. 3-bet here, and we're in the big blind. We need to size up here. I think somewhere in the 500 range is a good bet. That's exactly what I do. $500 going into the middle. The price of poker just went up, boys. You gotta pay to play. Diva lets his hand go. He only had 6-4 offsuit. I don't blame him. Along with bridge Mike, 8-9 suited is not good enough for $500. Danny lets go of his hand as well. Unfortunately, we did not see what he had. It did not register in the card reader, but back-to-back hands here where we're taking down that dead money preflop, although I would have preferred in both instances to get a call and play a flop. Oh well, 3 hands in a row for the good guys. Those were all the interesting hands we played in the 4-hour stream. We ended up losing $680 in that session, despite picking up a few big hands at the end. But fear not, that's not the end of the episode. This is another 2-part video, but first we step away from the tables and find ourselves at a cricket match in Dallas with our friends. Yes, you heard that right. I went to a freaking cricket match in Texas. There's a sentence I thought I'd never hear myself saying, but it was an awesome experience. Check out the footage. The next day, we stopped by the Texas State Fair with more of my friends from Pepperdine. We got the corny dog and of course had to try the massive turkey leg. It was an overall great time and something I definitely recommend all of you trying at least once. Speaking of things all of you guys should try at least once, Texas poker. We're back at the 2-5 tables in for $33.20. First hand of note, we look down at ace-9 of hearts from the big blind. Middle position raises it up to $15 and gets 2 calls. Actions on me from the big blind. I put in the call as well. We're going 4 ways to the flop. Flop comes 9, 6, 5, rainbow. We obviously have top here, but with all these other opponents in the hand, I decide to check. And the action unfortunately gets checked around, which brings in a pretty dynamic card, the 7 of diamonds. It's a backdoor diamond draw and any 8 now makes a straight. For that reason, I decide to check it again and the action goes around to the cutoff who bets out for $50. The button puts in the call and here I'm thinking I'm getting a decent price and we have top pair. There are some draws on board, so for that reason I stick in $50 as well. I'm going 3 ways to the river. River comes the jack of clubs, which really shouldn't change too much unless the opponent in either spot has a jack high flush draw. I start with a check obviously and the cutoff checks as well, which is good news for us, and even better news, the button checks behind. I turn over my cards first. The cutoff mucks, followed by the button, so we're going to take down that $200 pot there with second pair. Happy I made the call on the turn there, and nobody went for a big bet on the river. That brings us to our second hand here, ace-jack offsuit from the small blind. The button raises it up to $30. Nobody else puts in the call other than I. I defend my small blind here. We're going heads up out of position to a flop, which comes queen, 3 deuce with 2 diamonds. I have the ace of diamonds in my hand. I decide to start with a check, and the button pretty much snap checks behind, which brings the ace of spades on the turn. Pretty good card for us because now we have top pair with a jack kicker. I could lead out here, which would pretty much play my hand face up, so I decided to check and hope the opponent goes for a bet, which he does. He obliges $45 into the $65 pot. Obviously, I could be behind ace king and ace queen, but with ace jack here, I think our hand is definitely strong enough to call. I toss in 2 green chips, get 1 red chip back, and we're off to the river. River doesn't really change too much unless he had ace 8. I start with a check. Button goes for another bet. It's either a missed diamond draw, a weaker ace, or a better ace here. He decides to bet $100. I think about it for a second, but there's really no decision other than call. I underplayed my hand to this point, so I toss in 1 black chip, and the opponent shows us a good hand, one that we wanted to see, ace 10 of hearts. Sorry, sir, our jack kicker is going to beat your 10 kicker. $355 coming our way. We then look down at 5-6 of diamonds from the cutoff. There's a few limps to me, and I decide 5-6 is a good enough hand to go for a raise. I pop it up to $30. Small blind puts in the call, and an under the gun limper does as well, so going 3 ways to the flop. In position, the flop comes 9, 8, 7. Bang! We flop the 9 high straight. It's been a while since I said bang in one of my videos. Pretty sure the last video at San Angelo, if you guys haven't already watched that, there'll be a card right up above, but I don't think I said the word bang once. Anyways, back to this hand. Both the opponents check it over to me, and here with the straight, I'm going to go for some value here. I want to build the pot. They have around 1,200 in their stack. I bet out for $45. Small blind wants to play for $45. He puts in the call. Under the gun gets out of the way, so we're heads up in position to the turn, which comes a 7 of clubs. Not the best card as it pairs the 7. So now 2 pairs could be boats, and flop sets could be boats as well. But the small blind checks it over to me for a second time, and we need to go for some value, $190 in the pot. What kind of sizing would you guys go for here? I decided that $125 is a good enough bet here. I want to build the pot. There's the front door flush draw, and the board is now paired, so $125 is the price of admission, Mr. Small Blind. But he doesn't want to go any further. He tosses his cards in, and $190 coming our way. That brings us over to our next hand, Queen Jack of Diamonds. The $10 straddle is on, and I raise it up to $30. We're going to get 3 callers in this hand. The middle position, cutoff, and the button all want to play for $30, going 4 ways to the flop. Flop comes 10, 7 deuce with 2 diamonds. We have 2 overs and a front door diamond draw, but with 3 other opponents in the hand, I decided to start with a check. Unfortunately, all the other opponents want to check as well, and we're going to see the 3 of clubs come in on the turn. With still 3 other opponents in the hand, I don't think a semi-bluff is really the best option here. I'd rather go for a check call or a check raise. So with that information, I start with the check in middle position and the cutoff both check as well. Actions on the button. Wasn't going to let another free card peel off. He bets out for $75. I said earlier, I have 2 options here on the turn when I check. I can go for a check call or a check raise. Obviously, I'm not going to fold my queen high flush draw with 2 overs. So I decided to go for the second option of check raise here. I just think when he checks back the flop, now he bets for $75 into this pot when checked to twice. I think we can size up here and go for a semi bluff of $235. Middle position gets out of the way, and now the cutoff wakes up and decides that $235 is good enough for him to go all in. $240, it's only $5 more to me. The gig's up for the button. He was just bluffing. He folds his cards actions back onto me. Obviously, I'm not folding for $5 more. I toss it in, and we're off to a river, which gives us top pair, the jack of hearts. He shows queen 7 of clubs, so decided to get it in there on the turn with 1 pair, an over, and the flush draw. But when the jack of hearts comes on the river, that's a safe card for us. That's going to scoop us the $672 pot. Let's go. We then look down at pocket nines from the big blind, and the $10 straddles on again. The button calls, the small blind raises it up to $60, and the action's on to me. I'm on the big blind, it's $55 more to me. I put in the call, looking to flop a set here and win a large pot. We're going heads up to the flop. Flop comes ace, queen, 9, bang, we flop bottom set. Fortunately, middle position checks it over to me. I would expect this board to smash his pre-flop raising range, but sadly enough, he checks it over to me. What are we going to do with pocket nines here on this board? Obviously, having nines is a great hand to have because we have a set, but we also don't block any of his aces or queens that would decide to play this way. So I don't want to check behind. I want to build the pot here. I bet $50. Opponent, I guess, decides to go for the check call in this spot here. So anyways, we're off to the turn, which comes a 7 of diamonds. Small blind checks to me for a second time, which I think is standard. And now with $245 in the pot, there's some draws here like diamonds or king jack for a Broadway type draw. Also, if he's a hand like ace king, ace queen, ace jack, we could get some value here out of that hand. So I decided to size up a chunky size bet here, nearly pot $225, hoping he has a really good hand here so we can play a large pot with our set. But unfortunately, he tosses his cards into the muck. We're just going to have to settle with $245. We then look down at ace queen offsuit from the cutoff, and I raise it up to $30. The button's going to go for the re-raise here. $105 is the new price of poker. Action folds back around to me. Cutoff versus button, our ranges should be a little bit wider than normal, so I decided to put in the additional $75, and we're off to a flop. Out of position, which comes king, jack, 10, bang, we flop Broadway. Nothing to do but to check here when we have the absolute nuts on the board. Actions on the button, hoping he decides to go for a hefty size bet, and that's kind of what he does when he fires out $105. Actions on me, and I think it's time to go for the check raise. Even though we have the queen of clubs in our hand, which is a very strong card to possess, there are some draws out here like the clubs draws and sets. We don't want them to boat up, so I decided to charge him $300 if he'd like to see a turn card. He puts in the additional $195, which means a turn card is coming, which is the 4 of spades. Didn't change anything on this board. We had the nuts on the flop, still have the nuts on the turn, $817 in the middle. Need to go for another chunky size bet, looking to get our stacks in by the river, provided there's no club or board pairing card. I fire out for $525. The opponent thinks about it for a long time before ultimately saying all in and putting in $1 chip. Kind of crazy because his all in is for $1,600 effective. Obviously, I snap call him here with the nuts. We're off to a river in an over $4,000 pot here in the 2-5 game at Texas Card House, Dallas. Let's see a clean river dealer, which doesn't come. It's a jack of hearts. I really hope he doesn't have kings or tens. I turn over my ace queen, and the opponent turns over ace queen as well. So all that drama for nothing. I guess that's fine considering the board paired on the river. It could have been a lot worse for us. We're going to chop up that 4K pot. Crazy because I've never played a 4K pot in a 2-5 game anywhere outside of Dallas. But now it seems this might be my third one on this trip. Last hand of the night, we have king, queen in our hand. We're in the straddle. We put it out there. We want to provide some action to the other player. There's one limp in the middle position, raises it up to $25. Small blind calls. The big blind folds, and the action's back onto me. I go for the 3-bet here and raise it up to $110, just looking to win this pot outright. Or if we go to a flop, we probably have the best hand. Just the middle position limper puts in the call, so going heads up to a flop. Flop comes ace 7-4 rainbow. Obviously a great board for our range. When we go for the 3-bet to 110, I'm not going to slow down here on this board. I take a few green and one red, make it $80 to the opponent to call. Middle position flicks his cards into the muck, so we're going to end this night on a small W, 270 coming our way. What's up, you guys? We got into that game for 33.20, out for 33.07, a net loss of $13. And don't forget our $680 loss in the live stream from earlier as well. At the end there, we tried to flop a lot of sets because people were super deep stacked, like 3 and 4K at the 2-5. So we hit a set, got a lot of implied odds there to make a big hand and win a big pot. If you guys like this video, drop a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below. As always, good luck on the flip. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.